Geocachomaniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Welcome to GeoGearHeads, episode 355. We're going to be talking about Geotours tonight. We had a couple of special guests, but first, with me as usual is my co-host, Chris of the Northwest.
Well, hello, internets. And Daryl, how are you this evening?
Not too bad. A little bit of a sore throat, but, you know, we can attribute that to 80 degrees one day and freezing temps the next day.
Welcome to the Midwest.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Midwest during climate instability.
Ooh. Now, there was a period of time in the fall in the Midwest we used to call, I don't think it's politically correct to say so anymore, Indian summer.
Oh, yeah, we still have that, and we kind of got that early. I'm still afraid we're going to get that again. But we had a couple of weeks ago, like, I think it was 5 or 6 days that we were pushing 90 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad part about that, it was also pushing like 95% humidity. It was miserable.
Yeah. So
and then last night we got below freezing for the first time this year. Well, not this year, but this season.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of late, isn't it?
Not really. It's about normal. It's usually right around the Halloween time that we'll get our first overnight frost.
Wow.
But it's also not uncommon that we get snow on Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had Halloweens that are 80 degrees. So it's kind of all over the board.
Yes, I remember times with costumes and then parkas over them the next year.
Yep. and my favorite is still going caching in 70-degree weather on Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. When you're supposed to have snow, it was 70 degrees.
Yeah.
And pretty ugly, but 70 degrees. You know, sunny, but there was no green.
Yeah.
It felt like a apocalyptic show.
Nice.
So you're hearing Kid Vegas 19. Welcome.
Hey.
And look out, Lisa.
Hey.
And we had to invite these two on because they've had a lot of experience both with Geotours and Geotrails. So that's what we're going to talk about this evening. Is a little bit of both and why you'd want to do one or the other and how to put them together. Before we get into that, though, we had some feedback from last week's show.
From our good buddy Limax, he sent an email. He said, I heard you discuss handheld GPSR devices on your latest randomized show, and I'm sure now I can't let the subject go without comment. Just to remind you, I currently use a Magellan Explorers 510 myself and own a doorstop. I mean a Garmin Oregon 570T. I'm sorry, 750T. The Explorers 510 is very much like the Explorers 310, except that it has a resistive touchscreen. The 510 gets me reasonably close to the cache, and I don't care about the extra startup time it takes. The Oregon 570T, no, I'm doing that again. The Oregon 750T. It's my problem, not Limax's. But the next quote is entirely from Limax and, no editorial on my part. He says, in comparison, it blows chunks. I can't believe that geocaching.com even endorsed this one. I've never heard of a more difficult to use and less functional GPSR. Right now, the unit crashes and shuts off whenever I try to go to the geocaching portion of it. And from what I hear, Garmin refuses to acknowledge the unit has problems. I guess when you have a monopoly on the handheld GPSR market, you can do anything you want. I'm intrigued by the GPS Map 66. However, I am a bit shell-shocked over how bad Garmin is making these units. Thus, I'll be waiting to see reviews on it before plunging off a cliff again. I would like to get a unit that allows me to use other navigation systems besides the GPS system. You were right that the Explorers 310 and 510 has a limit of 10,000 caches, which might be enough for anyone. Instead of me, I'm currently gaining close to 20,000 caches from pocket queries. And the GGZ format does not allow for a lot more caches. Or does allow for a lot more caches. I apologize. But I'm not sure how robust it is, given the problems I've had with the 750T. In my opinion, I would say that Cachesaurus would be better off to stick with the 310.
Now, I think he's got some issues with that particular unit if it's crashing on the...
Yeah. You think?
On the geocaches, not normal ones. But my best guess is that might be in your files. So check that out, Limax, and see if that's happening again. You know, put like a smaller GPX in there, you know, just one, and see if that will clean it up. Because I have had problems like that on many units where like it hits a bad character or something and just dies.
Yeah, that's actually the unit that I use is the 750T. And every now and then, Groundspeak will make a change in their database and it will help, it'll break the connection. So I would recommend doing a firmware update and turn your chirp off.
Yes.
We found that the chirp on both of ours, we have the 700 and the 750T, tends to make the unit crash. So turn that portion off and do a firmware update and then see, like you said, also do take out all of your pocket queries and put in a fresh one, just in case there's some sort of corrupt character as well.
And then mine, I run the 700 and I'm experiencing like a 30 seconds till you crash. That's what we experienced with the chirp function on. But in my case, also the wireless function, meaning
Ant Plus
hooked up to my home router with it.
The Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Wi-Fi, yeah. Okay.
But however, thankfully, Bluetooth works. And so I just use the data from my phone and, sorry, Limax, but I find the 700 series great. We were in Rome, Georgia, and I made a pocket query and downloaded it directly to my 700 for the Lake Lanier caches we did, and super slick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. He might have problems with that exact unit. I would start with Daryl's suggestion first, then Lisa's, then mine. And sorry about that. My bad Garmin experience is the Colorado.
Oh, I remember those.
That was a universally bad unit.
Yeah. And
bad antenna, everything.
So actually the 700 that I'm using now is the first Garmin I've had since then. I've been DeLorme. I have the Magellan 710 Explorers. So I can take pictures and record sound. So they're Limax, Neener. And but
do that with the phone too.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, those Magellans are great. The only problem I have with the Magellans is they don't do tenths of a mile. Once you're under a mile, now you're in feet. So now you do this mental conversion of how many feet is a tenth, and so for me, that's hard. That's almost like a puzzle cache. But other than that, they're great units, and in my opinion, the best were the DeLormes, the PNs. But
I love my PN40.
Yeah.
My 60 never worked quite right though.
Oh, really?
I was disappointed in the 60.
Yeah. I actually beta tested the 60s, and I think we have 2 or 3 units. Two 60s, and one that connected with the spot as well, which was a really cool feature.
Which I had gotten that kit when it came out. Never activated the spot. I just wanted it in case I decided to.
Right.
And I really liked the concept, but it just never worked well for me. And a lot of my problems actually came from the caches. The GPX files just weren't recognized correctly by it.
Yeah, that was a problem. HTML
Mm-hmm.
actually was nowhere near as good.
Really? We found
that
ours
40 was like spot on all the time.
40 was,
yeah.
But the 60 was always off.
Huh.
And I'm sure that's not universal, but that was my experience with the one that I had. So I ended up almost never using it because it's either crashing and losing all the caches,
That's not good.
or it's just 30, 40 feet off. And I never figured out which direction it was off because it seemed to be fairly consistent, but I never figured out which way.
Oh no, just off.
That was so much fun with the PN40. You know, first time I used it, and you get under 100 feet, now you're into decimals. You're 87.6. So these people are proud of their accuracy, and it was perfect. And then Chris, we did the WSGA camp out in the Columbia Gorge. I forget which year it was, but we were in charge of the GPS accuracy thing.
Yeah.
So we use our DeLorme and we put it out to it has 4 digits for the last 3.
Wow.
4.
Yeah. And that just faked everybody out. There's well, what do I do with this digit? Well, you tell me.
Round up or round down?
Right.
Yes.
We would have to round whenever we were hiding new caches or something.
Yeah.
Ours are super accurate. We really liked them.
Nice.
Well, we're not here to talk about GPSRs, though. We're here to talk about geotours. So let's start off with what is the difference between a geotour and a geotrail?
Sure. Well, basically, a geotour is a paid product through Geocaching HQ. So you pay several $1,000s plus or minus, depending on what level you come in at. And then what they provide for you is a dedicated web page that houses your geotour information and paid sponsors. So you can have ads or their logo actually go on your geotour webpage. And then you get a series of ads if the geotour host has to provide the artwork, but then those ads will run on the web page if anybody actually goes to the web page anymore.
So it's like the what did they call them? You had on the ads that run up and down on the right side of your screen, skyscraper. You had those type of ads, and then the ones that run.
It must be your ranch style. Right,
Yeah.
as opposed to a scale.
And so the hope and dream, you have so many of these impressions as part of your package. Okay. And the hope and dream is Chris would get maybe 1 or 2 impressions throughout his session. And maybe every 3rd session you would get an impression because you're here. And then locals would not get any because we're doing it.
Well, no, we'd still get them. You can actually choose your target area.
Yeah, and then like Daryl would get, let's bomb Daryl.
Yeah.
Come out to Washington, Daryl.
Yeah, and again, it's part of the package. So the more you pay, the more impressions you get. The wider your range is for those ads. And then you can also get, at the different levels, a blog post or be included in those newsletters that go out.
Oh, nice.
There'll be a little blurb about your particular geotour.
Yeah, and ours, we got a blog post our level, right?
I believe, the first one we did.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we downgraded to a lower level. And then versus a geo trail, it has nothing to do with paying ground speak.
Or HQ.
Geocaching HQ. But it still works the same. For a geocacher's perspective.
There you go.
Yes, of hiding caches and, however you want to put that portion together as your organized trail activity. But you don't get any of the advertising.
Right. And you don't get that nice page at geocaching.com or the souvenirs.
Correct. Yeah, that's something new that they just added within the last year and a half. Unfortunately, didn't work out well for us, but for newer
other ones,
geotours, how it works is you have to have found every active cache that's part of the geotour. And then when you found them, you'd then receive the souvenir.
And so we like to be frugal. And so our geotour, we use the the same Geotour, but for 3 consecutive years changed up the theme and added new caches and so on and so forth. And that helped us from having to start fresh with a new Geotour. But what that means for the souvenir is a person has to find every cache on our first Geotour, every cache on our second Geotour, and every cache on our third one.
In order to earn the souvenir.
Yeah.
And it wasn't required.
And in our first tour, we didn't require every cache. So
I don't think anybody's ever earned our souvenir.
Yeah. Which is good because I haven't made one up. So
well, for instance, a couple of years ago, I looked at the Bigfoot Geotour in North Bonneville, Washington. That's right on the border between Oregon and Washington. And I just looked at it, and then my geocaching.com webpage was inundated with
really,
the Bigfoot tour ads. And so I thought, you know what? It's nearby. I'm going to go do it. I could only get 8 of the 10 at the time. Construction stopped me from one, and flooding stopped me from another.
Oh, no.
Right.
So, so I only have 8 of the 10. I never got the souvenir. But, it was a very well put together Geotour. So,
yeah, another bonus of doing the Geotour as well is you can actually search for Geotours on the geocaching app. If you know it's called a GT code instead of GC code. Like ours, I believe, was GT 61. 61, I think. It's retired now, so it's not active. But then you can type that in on your search functionality on your app, and then it'll show you just the caches that are part of the Geotour, and so that'll help you keep you focused. And then you'll only see those particular caches.
Well, and I think even basic members get access to all the caches on the Geotour, whereas they don't normally. So that is another benefit, if I remember correctly, to the Geotour.
Geotour
if you have like
cannot be premium.
Right. No, but on the app, you only get the traditional caches. And was there a terrain and difficulty?
2.5.
You're right. Yeah.
2.5? Yeah. So that is a factor. If you expect a lot of people who are using the geocaching app rather than one of the third-party ones.
Yeah.
And you plan on having earth caches, for instance, or puzzles or multis, they won't get to see those in a GeoTrail, but they could see them if it's a Geotour.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, we've had people with our trail come up to us and say, I'm not finding this in the app. I'm not finding it in the Geotour. And we've had to explain why. So
it's GeoTrail.
Yeah,
okay, and it's a higher rated. So
well, they were looking in the Geotour for our, which was no longer a Geotour.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, the cachers out there really do like it. One of the benefits for us having hosted a Geotour it wasn't the last block party. When did we go to HQ and met with a bunch of the other Geotour?
I think it was the last.
It was the last block party, and and we all gave each other our coins and whatnot. And there was a couple from
well, there we go.
So as I was saying, there's a couple I want to say from either Southern Georgia or Florida that their Geotour was a route you could get to by golf cart.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And it was like 19 caches and you got a map and away you went.
Well, that sounds like a fun one to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
We just had that whole discussion about the golf cart being the ultimate caching vehicle for a power trail.
Oh,
Ah,
I like that idea.
I always thought
Actually,
a bicycle would, but
it's a
Well, the
lot
problem with a bicycle is that on and off.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a trike.
That'd
There's
just be- it would
there's a
just
quad cycle I really wanted to try that's actually even power assist.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Ooh.
nice thing about that one is it had the dynamos, so you charge up your phone and everything as you're driving along. If you need that little boost up the hill after,
Mhm.
50 miles of power trail, it's
yeah.
got the power assist to help you along too. So I always wanted to try that. The big thing is the no kickstand and no bar to climb over.
Mm-hmm.
But
Easy
I
enough.
guess I just always thought it would be, I'd pedal up and you'd hop off the handlebars, go get it.
Oh, I see.
Or just stop quickly and she's off anyway.
Yeah, let me push her off. Yeah, she can catch up on the next one. Yeah. So, what other questions do you have for us about?
Well, one of the things that a lot of people seem to want are the swag items. So
Yeah.
what kind of items have you seen available from both the Geotours and the Geotrails? And typically, how does one go about doing that?
Well, the most biggest prize, I think, for a lot of people, beyond just the thrill of finding all the caches, is of course the GeoCoin.
Generally, it's a
earn.
coin.
Yeah, and we've done lots of different ones for different organizations and for ourselves as well. Something really unique to represent the area. Like the first HOMA one that we did for Louisiana was a shrimp boat.
Yep.
And then we did a matching Kinsey, which is a cashkin proxy, which shares the same code of a smaller shrimp boat. And this year, they've decided to go with the official Geotour, the diamond shape, which is it's a common back that Groundspeak or Geocaching HQ has put out, and then they can do their own design on the front of it. So that's the most exciting thing is doing the work, tracking your progress with a passport or something similar, and then earning the coin.
So now, when did we get
Meow or meow?
Yeah. So Geotours we're finding are being the ones that we are involved with as the coin producer are themed, and probably the most famous one is the Tri-Cities GeoCoin Challenge, which comes out with a unique and impossible to produce coin each year.
Yes.
And so that particular GeoCoin Challenge is really famous for its coin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we hop over to Cash Dash Splash in Long Beach, Washington, and that's always had a theme for the year. This year being their historical railway, the clamshell railway, and the coin ended up on purpose looking like a ticket from the era to ride that train. We know Helena has done different things with their coins, even including handmade
More like a token.
mud balls.
Clay.
Clay, yeah. That were fired and they were really cool. And things like that. Now, I think the state of Utah is really doing it up because you have different levels of swag depending on how much you want to participate. You have patches, coins, and jackets.
Yeah.
Or display case.
Or display case.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And
I had heard about the display case.
Yeah, you can do a jacket or display case.
Oh, okay. And so we were just with one of our cohorts in going caching in Rome, and she's efforting to get that jacket.
Oh yeah.
So it's very unique, and that tour is set up very well, very well.
Yeah, the Land Monkeys worked hard to get the jacket.
Yeah. Yes,
that's right. Yeah.
The jacket is really unique. You don't see many of those, but there are a couple that will have the T-shirt. And Chris, you and I did one of those.
Yes, the donut trail.
The donut trail.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
See, you
Which
guys
that was
don't
actually
have
my
to man
first
a
geo
booth.
tour that I completed. Oh, I'm sorry, Charlie. What was that?
You guys that don't have to man a booth during these giga events. get to
Exactly.
go out there.
Play. Yeah.
We did. We manned one during the Giga event, but we came early.
Yeah.
Yeah, but only the one day.
Yeah. We were
Yeah.
there 3 days vending.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, you win.
Yeah, we know. We stopped by and spent some money.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, that's a challenge, is, like clothing and those sorts of things that, you have to get the right size or something. So that's almost something you want to award later as well.
Yeah. So for some of these, I don't see so much the Geo Tours, but like the GeoCoin challenges in that. Cash Dash Splash is a great example. There's a registration page ahead of time.
Right.
That gives you the option. Do you want a coin? Do you want a shirt? Do you want meals? Do you want, all these things to go ahead, where a Geo Tour doesn't really have that mechanism in place?
No.
Generally not. Yeah. Yeah. It really is just, come to our area and tour around, find some caches and
Buy food, buy gas, stay at our hotels.
right. Yeah. And
Yeah, West Bend has the passports, and you actually get stamps from the hotels and whatnot.
Yep.
So when you go to the hotel, each night stay, you get like one stamp to put in the passport. Or if you go to the restaurant, you'll get, certain restaurants, you can get the stamps as well. So that's how they handle it with that one. And you don't have to get all the caches to get the coin. You can do however many. And I think actually, if you do all the caches, you still don't have enough points to get the coin.
That was almost like our first Geo Tour. We did a point-based system, and then you got massive points for staying in a hotel.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was all about. That's who was funding us.
Yeah. We received a grant, a hotel dollar grant.
To help pay for the Geo Tour. And people loved it because, now they didn't have to, they could more enjoy their experience finding the caches instead of busting along to get all these to get the points. But then our local people
they had to work harder.
They said, well, what about us? We live here. We don't stay in a hotel, and you are out of luck.
So was there no way to do it without staying at a hotel?
Oh, no,
it came very close.
No, you could absolutely do it.
Yeah. But,
without staying in a hotel. They just had to work harder. It took an extra day.
And
a whole day of
5
caching.
more mountain climbs.
Yeah, it was a lot of hiking. Yeah. And it was sort of a choose your own adventure because we also put our caches on a point basis. So, folks could do more park and grabs. They'd have to do a lot more caching, a lot more driving versus less driving, but more hikes or solving puzzles.
Yeah, if you had to go uphill, that cache was worth more points.
Yeah. Sure. And that's another one of our learnings as well, that one thing you have to think about is different cachers' abilities. And, are they actually able to do all the hikes that you want them to do? Are they a handy cacher? So you need to have different options for different, differently abled cachers as well. And one year we had 2 heart of puzzles that were required, and realized that was not the right thing. We need to have other options for cachers that really just want to do hikes and not solve a lot of puzzles.
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
so to balance all that out.
Is that something that Geocaching HQ, I hesitated there, Geocaching HQ helped in the planning of a Geo Tour?
No,
not really. They pretty much gave us what our benefits would be, and then we gave them money
and assets. Well, they call them assets. Your digital images, your pictures and logos, and they have a nice checklist for you to work through. But they really don't help you, or at least we didn't.
At the time.
There wasn't much help offered for actually hiding caches or putting them together. They highly recommend working with local cachers. And we were a group of cachers, so it was easy for us. But we've seen for other agencies, a tourism agency trying to put on geocaches. They really don't understand how it works. And was a bit of disconnect. I think they have more staff now on the Geotour team that can help them actually.
Yeah. So as the game evolves, as more people play, it is getting better and better. It really never was bad. It's just expensive.
Sure.
And so they're rolling right along. And they'll learn. The other trails that we've come across in our travels have been, so there's a West Virginia Tim. He has like a couple of geo trails in, I think it's North Carolina. I'm not sure. Where is it?
West Virginia.
Oh, West Virginia. And for his county, he's working with his tourism board to do that trail. Sarpy County in Nebraska put out 15, I believe.
I don't recall.
And they are gadget caches. They're a trail.
Oh, yeah.
And then a undisclosed location in Nebraska is working as we speak for a geo tour. So it in the end, it's all good. If you're an end user of geocaching.com, you have all sorts of options. Geotours, you can get souvenirs now. You got geo trails. You can do the famous ones. You can do the ones that are up and coming. Yeah, it's nice. I think it's helping the game overall.
Well, for the people who are looking to do a geo tour or a geo trail, are there any suggestions as to the cache types? You already mentioned, make sure to do the caches that are accessible to all sorts of cachers. But I imagine that there is something to do with like the theming too, because like West Virginia Tim, it's all going to be these gadget caches.
Exactly.
Yeah. I really think theming your adventure is really helpful.
It's very important. Yes.
Yeah. Our first year that we did our official geo tour, it was Spokane History Geo Tour. So we really pulled in a lot of different historical aspects, Native American history, geological history, farming history, all sorts of historical areas. And then our coin represented that as well.
That was a big hit.
Yeah, it was a really big hit. Actually, all of ours have been really popular. And this last one we did was trains. So it was Spokane Trains and Railroads, our star challenge. And it was not a geo tour, but a geo challenge.
Blatant advertising.
Yeah. And we worked with a train historian. Yeah. And he just knows so much, just amazing history. And so we were able to find really cool ways to hide caches and then, show people areas where there's been some train history. And
then it turns out every geocacher is also a railroad buff. Oh my goodness.
Who knew? Who knew? Yeah. It's everyone, I would say 99.9%. Yeah. So theming it, it gives the whole adventure a package deal, I guess. Put it together with a theme and then top it off with a good coin.
So as Daryl asks the question, as a consumer, you need to know what you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go to Detroit and I want to spend 3 days and I want to find fun caches. Here's this tour that's designed for that. On the other hand, I'm blown into town. I have 1 day to spend in Detroit. I'm doing this trail because it advertises it can be done in a day. So to compare and contrast, our first geo tour, Spokane History, was designed to be done in
3 days.
3 days. We wanted people to stay overnight.
Yeah.
Spokane Trains and Railroads, we want you done and out of town in a day.
Yeah, you can do it in less than a day.
And we had people come from Portland that were ecstatic that at the day we launched, we then had an event at the cache cave to receive people who finish, and they were so happy they could do this in a day, and they loved the railroad. And
you must be talking about Subway Mark.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
wait, I know this.
Yeah.
Okay, so
part of it is to know your audience and know
Yes.
what your goals are.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
did you find you had more people do the 1-day trail than the 3-day trail?
Yeah.
Well, in the end, it's about the same. We've
Within a month's time,
yeah
probably roughly the same.
Okay,
on the first weekend, much more.
sure.
Yeah. And,
Okay.
and locally, we've got Tri-Cities
Mhm.
mega, Tri-Cities GeoCoin Challenge mega event. And that's designed to be done in a day. So that's kind of the expected from around the area.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, getting a hotel room is difficult
Mm-hmm.
that weekend anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have everything going on that weekend.
Yeah.
Oh,
often.
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, GSM times 2 asked an interesting question in the chat room.
Okay.
And that's in the end, is the Geo Tour worth the cost and effort over a Geo Trail?
And I think that depends on who you ask, actually.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's your goals.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you're a tourism agency that is looking at the big picture of all the dollars that are actually spent by bringing people in, if you do a good job, hotel, gas, dining out, all of those sorts of things, yes, it is a good investment.
Mm-hmm. But however, if you're not a sponsored entity, if you're just a group of your local cachers, putting this together and spending the money required, it may not be. Our first tour generated much more to the community than what was granted to us. But if we were sponsoring that money ourselves, it would not have been worth it because the money went to the hotels and the restaurants and the gas stations and not our store.
Yeah. Well, they did some shopping with us, but yeah, I mean, that was part of it as well, to draw cashers into our store. But yeah, definitely without the community funds as part of it, it would not have paid for itself.
So really, it sounds like the way that a Geo Tour makes sense is if you are working with like a chamber or a tourism department.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or a
otherwise,
city,
probably not.
Somebody with deep pockets. I'm sure a
who's
corporation
looking to who's looking for the return to the community, not to the event or to the store or whatever.
The bottom line, right?
And then I think HQ can has the ability then to provide the stats. Here's what this project did for your community as part of this whole deal.
Yeah, that is another part of the aspect. I'm thank you for reminding me of that. After the event happens or the Geo Tour goes on, they're able to track statistics of where cachers actually, what their home coordinates are, because we put those in. So they know how far people came to travel, how many caches were found, and touch, that sort of thing. So there's actually a lot of data that then they can return back to Geo Tour hosts and their sponsors, where you don't get that with a Geo Trail unless you ask for it. In order to earn the coin, we really recommend on the passport that you ask a lot of questions and that they fill that portion out so you get information back, where they came from, whatever you want to know.
For something free, people will give an incredible amount of information.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Facebook knows about that.
Yep. Any other questions in the chat room? I'm sorry, we don't have it pulled up.
No, GSM times 2 said that was a great answer. Thank you. So your coins that you produce for this, does it really, I want to put this delicately, does it matter how ornate or special they are?
It really doesn't.
It does if you're Tri-Cities nowadays.
Well, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yeah, but JD, you mentioned they're known for their coins.
Yeah.
And each year, I think that's a personal challenge to up the ante. What can we do better than we did last year?
Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I think I don't believe the more ornate the better. And I will offer up our current the Star Challenge coin is a very nice. It's a busy but simple design, and people absolutely love it.
Yeah.
You know, it's your standard coin shaped coin.
Yeah.
And
Round.
yeah, round.
Yeah.
You know, it has a front, it has a back,
Yeah.
and
You included both, huh?
We
yeah,
did. Yeah.
I think our wow factor is on the backside. We have a picture of our Great Northern train station before it became just the clock tower, and so there's many windows in this building, and we made that glow in the dark. Those windows
And
nice.
and the clock face, and that's about our only wow facto.
Yeah, it just looks cool. Yeah, it's Art
nice
Deco. We picked an Art Deco look to all of the coin and the passport and that sort of thing. So that was part of the theme as well, which tied in well with the train theme.
Okay.
So yeah, I really think that for a cool coin, it should be something that just represents your area.
Or that particular trail or tour.
Right. Yeah. Something that, speaks to, a physical souvenir that you would want to take home with you.
The Sarpy County coin is it's not a huge coin. It's a regular size coin, but it is all about that area.
Yeah.
And you know it. Just looking at it. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and GSM times 2 says the Donut Tour coin is a basic coin with a generic back, but people still want them, and they're that's a good day of driving to get that one.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and way too many donuts.
We heard. Yeah.
And you have to eat. You have to try at least one from every one of those stores.
No,
why bother?
Yeah.
That's why you need big groups, is so that you can share the.
There you
donuts.
go. Yeah,
you need
the whole
12
car.
people.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we do we've done 2 sets of coins for the Ponderay County Challenge, and that's also using our common back. And that's a great feature. It's so one half of the coin is already done, and you only have to come up with one other side.
And
for the design.
Yep. And for me personally, as a geocacher, with all these tours, trails, and events, Woodstock, Coin Fest, coin caching, whatever, the coin is actually my t-shirt. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I got Coin Fest here, right? What's this going to last? 5 years, 7 years, if I care?
Take care of it.
You get to dry clean it.
Yeah. The coin is my memory. So yeah,
it's a physical souvenir.
Yeah. The only one I remember t-shirt that was trackable was it a Geo Woodstock 9?
It was Pennsylvania. I can't remember what number.
On the arm.
Yeah. That's the only one that I remember was trackable as far as an event.
Right.
Of course people make their own, and I think there's a store maybe online that people could get a shirt like that. But anyway.
It's interesting, though, that you brought up the going caching and the events, because Bounce says that he wants to do a tour that requires parts of the coin to find the cache, like putting an RFID chip and scanning that to get the cache. And
it's so last week, Bounce.
Yeah.
That's what they had just done.
So Chad, give us a holler.
We want to talk with you.
Going caching.
Yep. Amazing.
Yeah. And for years they've done this, making the coin integral into the would you call it a tour, or at least the geocache hunt?
It's more like a scavenger hunt, I think, than a tour.
Yeah.
It is not a tour, although you end up touring. You end up in the jewelry shop. You end up in the bookstore, the used bookstore.
It takes, many businesses are a part of
You
the
know,
event.
you end up at the bar. Oh wait, that wasn't part of it. But
But you end up there anyway.
The foundry is part of it.
yeah, they had a
we did the pub crawl. Yeah,
and
that was
and
different.
so it is very touristy,
Mhm.
and
but you get that coin first, and then you use the coin to
Mhm.
solve all the parts of the adventure that you need to, and that's what you use to get into the escape rooms, which is
Right.
the light of the event there. So that's kind of a twist on it. You get the coin first to then move forward into a different adventure.
Now, a couple of years ago, Tri-Cities had you go through find all 40 caches, right? 10 from each city. And then you got a coin, and then you could use that where you picked up the coin to cite to a bonus cache. So that's always an option to,
I remember that well.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It was our story is it was 2 weeks before the event. We get the first batch in, and oh my god, does this work? I take like half a day off. We drive over to Tri-Cities, meet the organizers at the coordinates, and test it out, and it worked.
Yeah.
But then it dawned on me, what if it didn't work? What are we gonna do?
There's no time left.
But it was fine. Yeah, it was.
I got
awesome.
half a day off work, so that.
Yeah, and that.
That's all you wanted, really, right?
Exactly.
Well,
go to the bar afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, well then it's all worked out.
We had a nice dinner there with friends. Yeah, and our second Geotour that we did, the filmed in Spokane Geotour.
Yes.
The coin actually had some codes that were in part of the coin, and then you use those numbers, digits, characters to solve another puzzle to get the bonus cache.
Hexadecimal numbers.
Yeah.
Those numbers with a curse, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's another way to work your coin into extending the adventure even further.
Nice.
Well, we're pretty much out of time for the evening. Is there any last minute thoughts you want to share about the Geotours and Geotrails?
If you're a geocacher out there and you have the luxury to travel, look these up. The mega events, go to them if you can.
Yeah.
They're all unique and awesome. You have the flavor of the group that's putting it on, and the location it's in, and just do them. And if you can only travel a little ways, look for the Geotours or the Geotrails that are near you.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, if you're in North Carolina, do that West Virginia Tim Trail.
Yeah. And if you need any help with, we're happy to answer any questions about putting them together, a Geotrail or a Geotour. And if you need help with a coin, we're also
there's your blatant advertising.
Yeah, I was going to say, do the plug for the businesses.
I was going to say, now, how do people get a hold of you?
A couple different ways. CompassCreekDesigns.com is our main website for coin design. If you're looking for geocaching gear, that's cache-advance.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter as well. Oh, and Google Plus.
Can you?
Google Plus is going away.
Yes.
Yeah.
In August.
Next August?
Yep, the coming August, the August of 2019.
Do they have a replacement?
No.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook.
We're getting out of it. Yeah. It's only going to be for enterprise accounts.
Okay. Yeah, I've definitely noticed a huge decrease in engagement on there. And
yeah, it was like almost a year ago, I think, that it just kind of fell apart for us and we stopped seeing any activity really.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I get maybe one a week or so.
Well, JD and Lisa, thank you for your time this evening. We really appreciate it. And we know at least those in the chat love it. And we know our listeners will too. So thank you much. And folks, if you really like this podcast, we ask that you give us Apple Podcast reviews. Yeah, so go on to iTunes there and give us an honest review. We're not asking for 5 stars unless you think we've earned it, but we want an honest review, whatever that may be. Those reviews really do help. They, in the algorithm that Apple uses, the more reviews and the higher stars get those podcasts sifted up to the top, and people find them easier. So please take just a moment, give us a review. We'd really appreciate it.
And we've got some great shows coming up for you. Next week is going to be Earth Caching with Land Monkey. And you know what? You can send in your questions for the Land Monkey about Earth Caching. And they're going to pick, because I'm not going to be here, they're going to pick one of the questions to get a GeoGearHeads tag. So email GeoGearHeads@cachemaniacs.com with the subject GGH 356 question with your question for the show. And you have to have that in by the 23rd. So it's coming up quickly. Then on November... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just send in a question asking them, why do they call you Land Monkey? But that's not Earth Caching.
Well, that's not on Earth Caching.
Why did they call you Land Monkey? See, that's about Earth and caching.
There you go. Now it's
use that one. I already got it. You got to come up with another one now.
And then November 1st, we're going to have hosting events with Princess Treble.
Oh.
On the 8th is going to be our next randomized show. These are always a bunch of fun and, Chris's favorite shows. So submit something for that show and you might get a trackable again. That's GeoGearHeads@cachemaniacs.com. But this time use GGH 358 randomized feedback. And you have until the 6th to get that in for consideration.
I like the randomized shows because I have a short attention span. What were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more information on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes from this and all of our episodes. Remember, we love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing GeoGearHeads@cachemaniacs.com or through the many channels, maybe one less, of social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniac shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. This show's copyright 2018 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.